want to go up to Megan Fox, and I, I put that on.
Yeah,
She
so-
might give a little look. Hello, everyone. Welcome to the first episode of season 2, the video series of Thrive and Vibe. I'm your host, James Zamri here. It's actually been a while, but I'm actually really happy to kind of start this series off. As you guys may have heard from my latest episode in episode 10, talking about myself, but I'm more than happy to actually feature this guest here. He's a great friend of Trey and one of my recent guests of the Look Good, Smell Good, and Do Good, Trey. And Trey has definitely said a lot of great things about this man. This man has definitely been a huge part of the Houston community, start being an entrepreneur and in one of the most saturated markets, but he's here to kind of disrupt it. So let's hear it from the one and only Mike Obi. Mike, how's it going?
Hey, Zane, what's going down? Thank you for having me first and foremost. And Trey put us in contact. He was like, "Hey, man, you got to get on this Thrive and Vibe podcast." And here I am. So thank you for having me. Thank you for inviting me. And this is gonna be a great episode.
Yeah, no, absolutely. So I'm pretty sure you've listened to some of the episodes, especially the one with Trey and what we talk about in Thrive and Vibe. Like it just goes as it's in its name. So Thrive, like what are you kind of doing in your project? Obviously, you're wearing it right now. How are you thriving in it? What got you into it? How are you thriving in it? And then after that, talk about like how are you thriving? Like what are you doing outside your day-to-day hustle? But yeah, first of all, let's just to start off, let's talk about of course your background, who you are, and then how you got into your business.
All right. Well, Michael Obi, born and raised in Houston, Texas. Grew up in
H-Town.
Pearland, H-Town. You know what I'm saying? And so, grew up in Pearland, so a small suburb, at least what it started off as. When I was growing up, Pearland was the new up and coming city, and it was a lot of land. So it was pretty much, what you would envision a very small rural area to be, and then it grew and it kind of urbanized out. But I mean, I'm Nigerian American.
Oh, really?
So both my parents grew up were born and raised in Nigeria. They came here. My dad came first for college. Then he married my mom, moved her down here. So, I'm the first generation, I guess you could say. I'm the third out of 4 siblings. I have older brother Bernard, older sister Vivian, and then younger sister Serafina. So, growing up in a big family, was definitely an interesting experience. You had to learn how to manage and how to just stay driven. Nigerian culture is all about drive and education and school and, doing your best in life. And those are some of the qualities and some of the characteristics I like to embody now. Let's see, went to high school out in the Houston area, went to college in Houston. So, I mean, my life has been all about Houston and Texas life. But it's ironic that, even being an adult is so much new opportunities I'm finding now and so much more about Houston that I'm kind of tapping into. And it's honestly been a great experience for me knowing like, hey, there's so much more that you can really unlock. And that's what I'm trying to do now with this, just what I've done since college and even getting into this project now and all the work experience. So that's just a little bit about me, a guy who likes to tackle a whole bunch of different hobbies, but, everything is about growing and about getting better in life. And the way you do that is by getting out of your comfort zone, getting comfortable, being uncomfortable, and naturally just trying to better yourself every day with everything that you do.
Yeah, and I like it that you really talk about being a hobbyist, and I believe each and every one of us have been a hobbyist. But how did fragrance or your business actually stuck out to you? Because you would have done many other things. Like even me myself, I found podcast to be a cool hobby, and then I'm actually doing it as a real thing. But let's talk about your journey. How did that can be considered a hobby or somewhat an essential hobby for all of us men here to becoming the business that you are own. And of course, you can tell the audience what your business is.
Yeah. Well, so I guess the whole story about me getting into owning the fragrance business really has to start off with what I was doing before that.
Yeah.
I had been into fragrance since I was a teenager. I'd always liked smelling good. I'd always liked getting compliments on, the fragrance I was wearing. But, like everyone, when you don't have money, you start off with the bod and with the brood and with the Axe body sprays and things of that nature. That's a flop.
No, you gotta include Old Spice there.
You gotta include Old Spice. You gotta include all of those, beginner body sprays and naturally you start to actually get your hands on real cologne, real fragrance, and you notice the differences. You notice first off the quality. You know, people aren't stumping their nose at you because you smell, bad or intoxicating, or you're giving people a headache. You actually smell pleasant and nice. And so then, I had this one fragrance back in the day when I was in high school. It was called Red. It looked like this flame. But bottom line, every single day I wore it, I always got a compliment with it. And so I'm like, man, there's something to this fragrance game where you can really set a great first impression with people, just on the way you smell. I mean, obviously, you got to be put together as far as your look. And that's something people, especially men, don't pay attention to enough. When we talk to women, they're like, yeah, you can smell good all you want to, but you got to look the part as well. So I knew if I could combine those two things, you could set yourself in a better situation. So I had that fragrance, ran out of it, stole my brother Bernard. Sorry, Bernard. I used up his, and then when we ran out of both of them, I was like, Mom, we gotta go back into Nordstrom and we gotta go get it. When we went up to Nordstrom, they're like, yeah, that fragrance doesn't exist anymore. So
it's sold out, or not sold out. Like it's out of business.
Discontinued.
Why do some fragrances discontinue? Just bad business practices or so, or?
Yeah, good question. I think most of the time when a fragrance is discontinued, depending on the designer, like if it's a designer brand and it's a notable brand, then they're trying to come out with something else, right?
So give example to our audience, especially of young men. Like they just say whatever it smells good, but when tell them like what's the difference between like a designer, niche, and many more other brands under umbrellas.
100%. So first off, you start off with your body sprays. Your body sprays are the stuff that you see in the
commercials,
those type of things. Yeah, definitely. Those are the things you got to stay as far away from. Axe body spray, Old Spice. Stay away from all that. Maybe even if for your armpit, I still stay get a gel, get a stick. That's my opinion. So you start off with body sprays, body mists, right? And then from there, you get into actual cologne. Actual cologne should come out of a bottle, whether it's glass or some type of hardware where it looks presentable, and it's actually maturated. Now, the difference between designer and niche fragrance, right, is simply who's putting their name behind it. When you hear things like designer fragrances, that's any brand that is associated with something else, some other beauty product, right? So whether it's clothing, whether it's shoes, whether it's makeup. So, for example, Chanel, Dior, Armani.
Man, all mom to be wearing that Chanel number 5.
Yeah, that's a good one. That's a top ladies one. So your mom has good taste. But nonetheless, so that's what a designer fragrance is. A niche fragrance, right, is a fragrance house that is known. First off, niche fragrance is all about those houses being known for making fragrance, right? So your Parfums de Marly, your Bond Number 9, your Killians, your what is another one? Mancera, all those ones that are known for fragrance, and that's all you know them for. Yeah. Now, what's the difference? The difference is that pricing usually, right? Designer fragrances are usually going to go for much less than niche fragrances. Even the top designer fragrances will still go less than niche fragrances, right? Niche fragrances will generally be more expensive, but because those brands have to, their namesake is fragrance, usually those ones are going to pull better reactions from people, better compliment getters, because the quality of the designer who they choose to follow it, the perfumer that they hire is usually going to be better at their job, so the quality of the scent is going to usually be better with a niche fragrance. So those are just a couple of different things between designer versus niche.
Nice. No, that was beautifully well explained there. And do you think people should, when buying designer fragrances, they should they should prioritize smelling super good, but you're mid, like your looks and your personality is mid, or if you're smelling, you're taking like a Tom Ford. I'm just putting it out there. Yes. You should look Tom Ford.
That's a great question. I haven't gotten that one before. I say your look, the way you present yourself should always become first and foremost, right? You can't simply go and say, "Oh, I know I dress bummy, got stained clothes, ripped jeans that don't look put together," and then you say, "Oh, well, I'll just wear a fragrance," and then that's going to mask everything else. That's not going to be the case. Now, if you're saying, "Should I wear Tom Ford to wear a Tom Ford fragrance?" I don't buy that at all. Right? You can wear whatever you want as long as you're put together, and then you just wear a good scent. Yeah. Right? The name of the scent is just the different brands, because different brands tend to have different DNAs, right? Yeah. For example, Prada. Prada is known for their iris soapy fragrances, right? Chanel is usually very good quality. very high class. So maybe someone who owns a business or is a CEO or an exec will go for an Armani, a Dior, a Chanel, things of that nature. So you don't have to say, I can only wear Armani to put on Armani fragrances, but you do want to make sure that you are put together if you're going to. The fragrance should be the icing on the cake of your appearance, not
Yeah,
the
icing,
basis
definitely
and the
icing on
batter.
the cake. Yeah.
Yeah, that's what I say.
Okay, no, a really good answer to that because there has been times where I just see, not saying I'm like a bummy, but you're just wearing, again, like average clothes, but surprisingly, I think the people I've come across, I noticed the scent first before actually seeing their face.
Absolutely.
And could scents be a great first impression before you see someone's face? Because we all come across, I'm going to say, point to the females out there, their perfume, they're already wearing perfume, and perfume is already the strongest as it is, or even higher.
Yeah.
And you could say, we make comments like, oh man, I can smell that perfume from a mile away. Oh, she's coming, like that. But you would never hear a man say, oh, I can smell that. I can smell that Tom Ford tobacco vanilla. Oh, that's Mikey coming through. So, can powerful scents be a strong first impression for anyone besides before you actually see the person's face?
Oh, 100%. And I've had people tell me that, like, for me, I wear scent. I wear a cologne every day, everywhere. You'll never not see me with something on, right? And people can tell me, especially when I wear a particularly strong fragrance, they're like, man, Mike, I can smell you walking in the room, or I can smell your scent trail, things of that nature. So wearing a strong fragrance definitely is really good. Bali's trying to interrupt right now.
No, but Bali likes that scent on you.
She's smelling that. You smelling that Violet parfum on me. Hold on, Bali. Let me get this off. But nonetheless, definitely wearing a strong scent. I always say fragrance is your first impression to the world, right? Aside from your appearance, what people smell on you is what they're gonna be able to remember on you, right? So making sure that you smell good. You never know what that person is thinking after you leave their presence, right? That person could have said, this person could have had a chance, but they smelled bad, and now you never get that chance again, right? You never get that opportunity again. That's another thing I say. I say fragrance creates opportunities as well, above anything else. It's your first impression, and that first impression can create an opportunity for you that you never thought of. Whether it's a male who had the confidence to approach a woman because he knows he smells good, he feels good, he looks good. He approaches that woman. Now maybe she gives him the number, the Instagram, because, he has something else to him. What is that I smell, right? Possibly smell your confidence, smell your aura, right? Or if take it away from male, female, let's say you go...
Or it could be the other way around. Like, I approach a girl because she actually... Of course I smell good, let's just say. If I approach a girl, it's like if I were to really say the pickup line, say, you really smell like strong vanilla. Like, yeah. I've never smelled that. Yeah, I really want to get to know you. Like, be direct like that.
Absolutely. Like, yeah, it goes both ways. 100%. That's a great point that women, they wear a nice scent, and it's like, whoa, okay, where'd she go? Where is she? Now that guy pulls up, you know what I'm saying? Or take it away from male, female, or even like a dating dynamic. I mean, it could be in business too, right? Mm-hmm. You come, you wear a nice scent, you exude confidence. Now that closes that business deal, or that gets yourself into the door of that business deal, all because you set a good example, you set a good precedent, for people to interact with you is all.
Yeah, absolutely. And so when this popped me, this question just popped up to me. So when now that you're already in it, like really deep into it, as in wanting to make a business, and you go, you're doing your own research. I've always kind of wondered, maybe this would be good for the listeners, just to think deeply. Where did the word fragrance came into our dictionary, and how did human civilization came upon want to just genuinely smell good? Because we didn't just poof, just like a oil in the bottle, and we're spraying oil on our face to give us a very good mask scent to cover our natural BO. But just the first question. Answer the first question. Where do you think fragrance came from?
It's a great philosophical question to think about and kind of ponder upon.
Yeah.
I would imagine that probably from prehistoric times when they understood how they could capture an aroma right?
Mm.
For attraction, right? I think it was a pheromone type of thing. Like, ooh, maybe if we can gather these scents around, we can put it in the oil. Before you had bottles, it was a matter of just putting different scents in the atmosphere, and those things were able to attract and allure the opposite sex, whether it was a female trying to lure males. What it could have been a battle strategy, right?
Yeah.
You know, you talk about in Greek mythology, you talk about in ancient times of women being kind of the mistresses and the seductresses of males, where they could lure the enemy in. He drops his guard, and then all of a sudden, your
Kind of like
enemy.
it gives me that Trojan War, Trojan horse
Exactly.
effect.
That Trojan War. You talk about Sparta and Greece, where uh, the king of Persia, what was his name? Xerxes would
Yeah,
send
yeah,
all those
yeah.
mistresses to kind of allure those men, drop their guard, and then maybe they use some perfume to kind of get those guys to relax, and in them relaxing, they put their shield down, they put their guard down, and then boom, you're able to attack. So I think it was just kind of one of those things like people understood the power of smell. Our olfactory senses in our nose is really strong because it's a connection to our brain. You control the brain, you control the mind, you can control the person. From a dark sense, sense
Yeah.
of it all. But I mean, I think that's probably where it
That's-
started off.
It can. That sounds like it could be extremely intoxicating or
Yeah.
hypnotizing in some sort of way.
That's
Like,
it.
and back then, and I remember this as in history class. Just specifically this in history class back in my high school. It's like during the bubonic plague or the Black Plague that spread across like medieval century Europe. That people weren't. People definitely did not want to take showers. Like you either stink or you actually take a risk of dying if you actually take a shower because all the water were completely like completely was it affected by the plague
Yeah, it's contaminated.
and yeah, it's completely contaminated. That's the word. Yeah, contaminated. So one of the very interesting scent for especially the queen or the royals they to do to really make themselves smell good were orange peels,
Yeah.
and and of course now me really having some of the perfumes I have in my collection, citrus. When I think citrus, I think of like fruit, and orange is actually one of the strongest notes
Yes, it is.
in most citrus fragrances. But yeah, I just wanted to kind of add that, thinking like, wow, it's still very important, and how there's so many ways to really like think of like utilizing fragrances or aroma, or have a sense of aroma.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think the main thing I always tell people is that there is no right or wrong answer to fragrance, right? It's about your personality. For you who notice citrus, and citrus is kind of something you gravitate towards.
Yeah.
Some other people might gravitate to some, fragrances that are a little bit more spicy, maybe a little bit more woody, a little bit more vanillic, right? So sweet, or musk
Yeah,
and oud,
musk,
and
musk, oud.
fresh, whatever the case. So at the end of the day, what I always tell when people ask me, well, what scent should I get? I said, you have to understand your personality as far as fragrance. What do you want your fragrance to give off? What are you trying to look for? When are you going to wear it? And then from there, then you can say, okay, this is the ballpark, the realm you can kind of get into. And that's really honestly where the whole hobby can really get interesting, because there's so many different fragrances that are out there. And it's about kind of like, okay, what does this smell like? What does that smell like? Do I like this? Do I like that? And then naturally you start acquiring different scents. And then honestly, your nose starts to evolve too. I remember when I first started collecting again and started like acquiring them, I was like, I'm only going for the most sweet, aromatic, like vanillic, and like the most aromatic fragrance I could find on the market. That was all I was going for. And then naturally it was like, well, no, you have to understand why people go for fresh fragrances. First off, women love fresh fragrances from my consumer feedback of like, okay, ladies, do y'all like fresh or sweet fragrances? When I poll it, people say go for fresh. And so then
Also, it doesn't really matter the timing of the season too.
It
Like,
does.
okay,
Yes.
springtime. Right now we're in spring.
Yes.
Are obviously sweet and fruity is definitely good, but I'm pretty sure you have different fragrances like fall, winter,
exactly.
and summer. But yeah, continue what you were saying.
Yeah, and even understanding that fragrances can be seasonal. So like they talk about fall fragrances, summer fragrances, winter fragrances, spring fragrances, and you notice that each season has kind of different notes that it leans towards, because that's what people's minds associate with that season, right? For summer, you think something's fresh, like fresh, clean clothes, citrusy, something outdoorsy, versus in the winter, you're thinking spice, you're thinking warm, you're thinking
Tobacco.
sweet tobacco, vanilla, cacao, tonka bean, right? Whatever the case. So it's just understanding time and place, and just okay, what would this fragrance go with? What would this fragrance go with? Can I wear this during this time? Do people associate it with this time and place, right? And so all of that is kind of where the fun of collecting fragrances and doing this whole hobby, and even now having this business, where it all comes from is just the unknown of trying a whole bunch of different things and trying all these different scents. So like people will look at this collection and be like, oh my gosh, you have a lot. You know, it's an obsession. I'm like, it's an obsession with the art of getting all these different scents and different personalities. Really, honestly, when you think about it, it's a perfumer taking their mind, taking their creativity, and being able to manifest that creativity into a fragrance that represents them and what they were trying to get off. You know, so that's what I appreciate about fragrance.
Yeah. So no, that's really great. You really stayed there. So, and then this question. So, and this is a saturated market. Do you think the fragrance market is really saturated as it is, or that's a good thing that it's saturated because there's more room for creativity, innovation, and of course, there's always going to be newer customers because everyone's growing.
That's it.
They're going to change. I know I know my 18 years old me, I was into fragrances. Now that I'm 30 years old, right. I'm actually starting to take my fragrance and consider my personality very different because my fragrance collection may be so different from yours, or so different from someone that is in New York, for example. But I don't know if I answered my question there. But
Well, what I'll go to is these fragrance community saturated. One would argue that everything in every walk of life is saturated right now.
Yeah.
Because of social media, everybody seems to have access to everything.
Yeah.
Right. My thing is, there's always good and bad with anything in life, and you just have to try to take the good and you try to capitalize and find your way through it. Right. The fact that there's so many different fragrances says that people are still interested in it. Right? Because people are still interested in fragrance, you could just simply create your own spin, your own twist. And as long as you know how to market and how to tap in with your crowd and what your business model is looking like, what your messaging is looking like, and your
story
smell.
and your story too. Sometimes I relate to stories with a lot of fragrances because I don't go just because it's a nice brand, but I sometimes like to go deep into it, and then I find myself captured into it. It's not just only the scent.
Exactly, right? And that's but you mentioned a very good thing is that they talk about when you're starting a fragrance brand or when you're starting a fragrance business, you really have to make sure you have a good message. You really have a good backstory. What is the story behind your fragrance? So, just as much as the smell, it's the person behind it and the story behind it. And I think every fragrance tells a different story. I mean, and tells a different theme. Now, obviously, it's about being able to sell the fragrance and sell the product, obviously. So as long as your fragrance and your quality is good and you're able to reach a market, I think there's room, there's space, there's money out here for everyone to succeed as long as they're willing to put the work in and they don't cut costs or cut steps or skip steps in the process. They have to really enjoy the journey and be 100% bought into it, and then they can have success. Not guaranteeing success is going to happen overnight because it's not.
Yeah.
I'm knowing that firsthand and going through this whole process, but it can be done as long as you stay the course and you understand what you're looking for. You understand the grand scheme of what you're trying to go for.
Yeah, and then of course your business is the mollit.
Yes.
We care to tell the audience.
Mollit fragrance
brand. Show the T-shirt there.
Yeah, so we got this mollit fragrance brand, and oddly enough, this is a gift. So here we go.
Thank you.
Here we go, man.
Oh no, this is absolutely wonderful. Can't wait to wear this. But yeah, hold on to it. So, how did mollit came into about, and what does it really mean for our audience here?
So mollit is.
Oh, I have to say it like that, mollit.
Yes,
not mollet. Like
I mean, you can say it. You know me. I'm not the vernacular police, but mollit in Latin means seductive, right? Seductive fragrances. Ooh. Now, seductive is not simply the sexual innuendo that most people would think about. Most people, seductive, like, okay. What I'm trying to get at is that people have seductive energy, kind of like what we were talking about. Your fragrance and your sense of smell is your first impression to the world. I mean, yes, we were talking about also your appearance, but the way people perceive you when they smell you can really set you apart.
Yeah.
Or it can ruin an opportunity for you, right? So, for me, I'm trying to get people to tap into their seductive energy, really get people to be allured to you by your sense of smell, or because you smell unique, because you smell different than anyone else in the room, right? That can set you apart. That can get the eyes on you. I'm not saying that everybody's gonna want you, right? I'll never be the type to say, oh, fragrance is gonna make you be a 10, right? Because it's
Yeah.
not. That's not realistic. But what I can say is that you doing this small step can definitely create opportunities for you, and that's all Mollet is about. We're just trying to get people to tap into their seductive energy, tap into their first impression of the world by wearing a nice fragrance that I can give and provide.
Nice, nice. No, that's so beautifully spoken. And I have one more question to like knowing about Mollet or just fragrances and smelling good. So I know our scents are very important and we apply it in our skin.
Yes.
But what have you come across like scent like candles spraying into the room or using was it not the infuser, but you know what I'm talking about with the I think it's infuser sticks.
Yeah.
So I've always been kind of curious, like, can designer brands actually go that route of like, oh, if you love the smell of the cologne, let's put it through everything. Put it in your car. Put it as a car scent. Put it as your room scent.
Yeah.
Like, but surprisingly, you know, of our room scents, or I use a Febreze spray. It smells good, but I'm not trying to smell like a cologne. But
Right.
you want to make it smell subtle.
Yeah, I mean, that's a great question. And so I think what happens with designer brands is that they're focused on making the scent that they're creating a cologne because the formulation is different, right? You hear like EDT, EDP, ED,
Like
like
the toilette, et de parfum, and the parfum intense.
right.
Yeah.
And so that's just the level of fragrance oil and the concentration of fragrance that you're putting into your scent. You don't want to make that cologne and put that in as an air diffuser or an air freshener because it might be a little too strong. Now, what would happen is you'd have to hire somebody who could say, we're going to make a Bleu de Chanel or an Armani air diffuser, and then this is how we'll market and sell it. Now, why no brand has really done that? That's
Like Tom Ford made that with the soap.
Yes, they did. They did make that with soap.
I know that's an extreme example, but
Jose Zuniga, he was the first one really who I saw like really
teaching men fashion.
Teaching men's fashion, right?
Yeah.
Santa Lucia, his fragrance brand. See, he's a little bit of an inspiration for me too because I seen him do it. I was like, okay, this guy was able to do it this way, and his approach was a little different because he has not just the fragrances, not just his collection, but he also then was like, okay, we're gonna give you guys the part for your car, we're gonna give you the part for the soap, and so he created a holistic approach, and I think that was really good. And not a lot of brands do that. So to answer your question, I think brands can do it. It's just about putting the marketing and the strategy. I think they get so caught up in wanting to focus and hone in on one niche, one realm, and they don't want to waste too much resources expanding into everything else, which honestly is good business practice,
Yeah,
right?
it's a good business practice. Like, don't focus on the main thing and just focus on the main thing before really try to take a risk and diversify.
That's it.
Yeah, I've always kind of been kind of curious because if Febreze want to make a cologne, I'd laugh. I don't know.
Exactly. Right.
But they use the same exact ingredients like the niche fragrances
Like-
or Armani like room scent. Like you just spray Armani across the room.
And you start figuring that out. Like for me, I figured out that it was a big difference, and it's very difficult, honestly, to make fragrance, like to make cologne, because what
Yeah,
I
I
started
bet.
off with the whole mollet thing was I started off doing fragrance oil first, right? So I literally just bought a whole bunch of different essential oils, and I was just mixing them together based on what I thought would be good.
Being your own mixologist,
Right,
I think that's another cool thing about fragrances. Every company or its individual creators can just mix, and you kind of like being a mixologist or being your own bartender. I know
Exactly.
like if you mix your drinks, but yeah,
And so I started off with that, and the first 8 projects, I would bring them to the gym and have like the people who knew I was in the fragrance, I'd have them smell them, and
is that what Trey meant? Like with a fanny pack, you just come into the gym.
Yeah, first off, since
The
you
fanny-
talked about the fanny pack, hey Trey, kiss my ass because the fanny pack is effective, right? See, he was talking shit about the fanny pack.
I thought you meant that's a nice fanny pack.
Yeah, man, it's a man bag. Man.
It's like I thought you were talking about the fanny pack like the '90s, like
No,
the '90s one,
nah,
with Dwayne The Rock Johnson or that daddy fanny pack. They ain't no fanny pack. That is like
Nah, it's actually, shout out to my guy Daryl. He was actually the
Daryl.
guy who there was another guy I met from the gym that we go to, Alpha Land, and he was the one who actually kind of put me on to the whole, hey, why don't you get a bag, like get a small little man bag, and you can have your oils, you can have your scents, you can have your business cards in there. And so I started doing that, and that was working because it served to be effective. Because now you literally have your marketing on your skin, you have it on your chest, you're wearing it. So people want to know, hey, do you have a card? Do you have a this? Do you have a scent that I could try? Boom, it's right there on you. Instead of having to reach in your backpack, now it's just there. It's easy to access, and it's easy to give to people. So that's why I got into the whole fanny pack thing.
Okay, yeah, because you could bring gym bags or gym backpacks, but I think if you want to just be very fast and efficient and somewhat stylish, it works.
And it is stylish, you know. I like so. What I was doing honestly was because I had the bag and it worked. It worked with the outfit. I could take it everywhere because now it's not just a gym thing, right? So I would go out to bars, right, and you know.
Don't they confiscate you for that in the bars and clubs sometimes?
They can, but the thing is, I have nothing to hide in here. I'm like, hey, do you want to try a fragrance oil? You know,
you can be the bouncer. You want to smell good?
Yeah, bouncer. Hey, you want to try this? You want to take a business card? Like it's literally marketing on your chest. And then once you get in the club or you get into a bar, right? If you see, you know, people who you want to spark up a conversation with, or you see women who you maybe want to try. And this happened, and it actually was very effective one time. You know, I saw this group of ladies, and this was when I had just made a new batch of a new oil, and so it was like, ladies, would you mind doing a fragrance opinion for me? And I was like, oh, sure. And
just out of the blue like that.
Just out of the blue like that. Would you guys like to do a fragrance opinion for me? Oh, sure. We love fragrance. And then boom. Now instead of having to reach into a backpack, literally just boom, and got them. They all smelled it. They all gave it a test, and they liked it. And so it's about timing, and it made it that much easier rather than having to bring a whole backpack. Now it looks sketchy. You know, it's just like, okay, this is simple, it's fast, it's effective, and you're able to move on. It's mobile. So.
Yeah, no, I like it.
Yeah,
man, I should implement that.
It's all about making the game easy. I mean, that's part of it with social media, and one thing about being able to adapt. Right, when you're new and you're building your business off the ground, you have to utilize every strategy you can. You can't be too big. You can't have too much pride to say, "Oh man, that looks weird. That could look sus. It could look whatever." It's like, man, look. At the end of the day, this is me trying to get my name out there because I'm building it from scratch. Nobody knows who Mollit is yet, so I have to build that name recognition, and that only works by being in front of people's faces and really trying to put it in front of as many eyes as I can and getting people to talk about it.
Nice. Yeah. So one last question. So. Actually, two last questions, but
sure.
I'll say this like second to last. It's like if someone wants to really get into the fragrance game, men or women,
sure,
what are the things they have to really consider? Because they could say, I love to smell good, but you are the true epitome. It's like, I actually love smell good. I have credibility. I've collected this. And I am really going in and out, and I already made this a reality. Like what do they really have to consider before going really into the fragrance market? Because again, it's saturated, but again, anything is saturated means it's good. There's competition. But what's your opinion for them to get into it?
So you're asking in terms of someone who's just trying to get into collecting fragrances, or someone who's trying to get into the business of fragrance?
Let's say both.
Yeah. Okay, so a person who's trying to get into the collecting space, the main thing is first off, understand your fragrance personality. What have you liked? What do you want to smell like? What do you want your fragrance to smell like? What kind of presentation do you want to give off? You have to think about those things. Now, fragrance is really, honestly, it's an open, it's like a blank canvas. It's like you being Picasso. You're being given paint, you're being given a brush, and you're being given a blank paper. Hey, go out and choose what you want to smell like. There's no wrong answer, right? So
except not smelling bad.
Except smelling bad.
Exactly.
So, you know, for somebody who's brand new to fragrance, what I would say is, you know, go by yourself or go with a buddy or go with your girlfriend, your boyfriend, whomever, right? Go with somebody. And honestly, that's a great date, in my opinion, right? A dude, bring your girlfriend with you. And
to a Sephora. Do you recommend Sephora?
Sephora, Sephora, Macy's, Dillard's. See, I'm a different type of fragrance shopper.
I feel you.
I'll get into that as well because there's also different shifts to the game that you can also implement. But first thing is you go fragrance looking, fragrance shopping, and you just go out and test different fragrances, and you start to say, okay, I like this, I don't like this, you don't like this, and you note it down. When I go fragrance shopping, I literally will have my phone there, and I'm taking notes of, okay, I like this, don't like this, don't like this, and then you say, okay, I like these fragrances, this is my ballpark, this is my niche. Then when a person working at a store is asking, what do you want to smell like, or what do you go for, what do you like, you can say, I like this, I don't like that. Right, so that's how you can get into the whole finding your fragrance, finding your personal fragrance, or even getting into collecting. Is you go out and you just try different fragrances out, right? And then you get yourself, I say 1 to 3 fragrances, what you need to start off your collection.
When you say 3 fragrances, are you talking about samples or are you talking about like literally buying it? Because I know some.
That's good. That's a good question.
Yeah, fragrance samples is like things, but sometimes it's not a thing because people abuse like they never buy the fragrance.
That's true.
But yeah, so collecting, finding out your fragrance personality. So getting into the business of fragrance, where you are at right now.
Yes.
Like what are the things that people one should really truly consider before making it like, all right, it's going to be a real business.
Your patience is going to get tested. You have to understand before you even get into the whole thing of buying bottles, buying oils, trying to hire a manufacturer, take the time and really understand what you want your brand messaging to be, what you want the optic to be, what you want it to look like, what you want the message to be conveyed, right? Then from there, you can get into the smell, right? You look up any blog, any website, any tips that talk about starting a fragrance business, they always say get your messaging and your mission statement down first.
Not just like making it smell good, because I'm going to say perspective nose, but yeah, your nose assent will be like, I like this, but if 100 other people say it's okay, and they're not going to buy it, then I think you might. I'll quit. Yeah, I mean, like if I do that, if I took that route, it's like I believe mine smells good, and 100 people I surveyed say I wouldn't buy it. I think I quit.
Right. I mean, and you run the risk of never getting off the ground because you never laid a foundation, right? As much people say, well, no, you just got to get out and start selling. It works in most other industries, but with beauty products and with colognes and with fragrances, you really got to make sure that the quality is high because people are going to share their opinion if it's bad. If it's bad, best believe people will talk negatively about it. And the worst thing in the fragrance game, in my opinion,
is your reputation.
Is your reputation being, hindered, right? Because your fragrance is a subpar, right? We had one of the fragrances, like it was an oil, and while other people liked it, it was too much of a sample size people did not like it, so we scrapped it, right? And you have to really listen to your audience, just like it is in podcasting, just like it is in any type of consumer-based business. You need to listen to the masses, listen to the audience, because at the end of the day, they're the ones who are putting their money behind the product. You want to make sure the product is good.
Yeah.
So make sure that people are bought into the message. That way, they're intrigued and they actually want to take the time to invest in your product or to look into it. And then make sure that you don't skip steps on hiring your manufacturer. If you're going to manufacture, if you're going to hire someone to do the fragrance for you, make sure you get someone reputable. Make sure you test their fragrances out, their products out first. I did that step with the manufacturer I'm working with, and then from there, make sure you, I would say in terms of launch date, don't sell any particular time. Really make sure that you have everything ready, and then you can say this is when it's coming out. Because what happens is you can promise one day, and then the longer you prolong it, people start to lose patience. You know what I'm saying? And that's hard. That part is hard. The part is very difficult. The whole thing of start to launch date, right, is a long, arduous process, and your patience is going to get tested. But at the end of the day, you just have to understand what the grand mission is, and understand where you started and where you ended up. Is honestly, it doesn't take a whole lot of time, right? It just takes a little bit of patience, a little bit of delayed gratification, and then from there, you can set yourself up for success.
No, that's really good. It's really good. So, well, I thank you very much for sharing how you're thriving, and I hope it will thrive even more into where you kind of want to be. This is just, I don't want to say it's the beginning. You already started, but it's like you're really definitely kind of getting there, and I'm kind of proud. I want to see how it goes, and
I appreciate
be more than happy to kind of wear the shirt everywhere I go, and get compliments.
Absolutely.
I might need to get some more lead samples too.
Absolutely. Yeah, and that's in the works. We're working on that for sure. We started off small with our first launch, and and then from there we're gonna take in some of the numbers, some of the metrics to see how high, how grand can we scale up, and then from there it's just gonna become its own movement. We'll start off locally. Yeah. And then from there, we'll grow as the fragrance grows and as the name grows, So, but definitely samples are in the works, and our first launch is coming, around the corner. So it's great. It's great.
That's really great. That's really good. So, all right, now to the other part of the podcast.
Of course.
It's one of the funnest part, the vibe. So, so you've been driving a lot, and it seems like it's what turned out to be kind of a hobby. Yes. It's always fun, but of course it's still business. But what are some other things you kind of do just to really vibe? Like maybe you can tell me a story about how you and Trey like chop it up, or what is it that you also love to do to kind of keep yourself like enjoying life?
Sure. Well, so main thing is I would say listening to podcasts and podcasting myself. So I host two. I host my own podcast called Four Inside, where it's almost like a Thriving Vibe. You know,
For inside where?
Four Inside. It's gonna be on YouTube, so all listening platforms.
Yeah.
But it's video and audio based. You can find it on Spotify podcast or on YouTube. That is, and this honestly, it helped me launch my business because I brought on different entrepreneurs who talked about their business experiences. So a lot of their wisdom, their insight helped inform me to start mine.
Yeah.
Right. And so that's the whole mission about it is I've had athletes on there, I've had business people on there, I have real estate people on there, and it's only grown. We've gone through 100 episodes. So podcasting.
100 episodes? Wait, how old? Man, I gotta step up on your level, brother. But when did you start it?
I started this in 2020, so that was during the pandemic.
Right.
2020. I was like,
wait, pandemic. How the heck do you even get people? You did it in person, or you kind of had to do a little bit like?
I did it through Zoom, man.
Okay, that's how it is. Okay.
Yeah, man, I did it the remote way, but I was in the house and I was like, I needed something to do to keep me creative. And so I'm like, well, shoot, I like talking to people, kind of. And so, there's this whole podcasting thing. All the Smoke, the Knuckleheads podcasts, and those are two of the main podcasts that I listen to. I was like, oh, I like this. I like this whole thing. Joe Rogan was another one. Mm-hmm. And then even the roommates, Hafiz and Chris Bilo. I like their podcast. I like their whole holistic approach to life, And so those are some of the podcasts that kind of inspired me to want to start my own. Bali.
Oh man, she really feeling the mollet, man.
She is, absolutely.
That's already like what, probably the 6th time she just wants to.
She's like, no more interview. I'm just gonna stay in here.
She just wants to like sniff and lick the mullet off.
But so one thing is getting into podcasting. Then how I started my second podcast is that my former football coach, who's really like a mentor to me, a life mentor. He's helped me with football as well as other things in life. He reached out to me. He was like, I want to start this one, and so the second one's all sports. So that's the other side of my brain is that I'm into sports. So I played.
You played sports like collegiate at level or?
Didn't go collegiate. So I played in high school. All district and things of that nature. Led the number one defense in the state in football when I was in high school.
What position you played in defense?
I played nose, man. I was a D tackle.
Oh, you were a D tackle. I played defensive end.
There you go. See, it's something about us D linemen. We vibe, man. But nonetheless. Not to get too long-winded on that, but I was a football player, and so I did that, and I like lifting weights, obviously. I like being in the gym, like staying in shape. It's very important as far as, your mental clarity as well, being able to exercise. So those are some of the things, podcasting, listening to podcasts, listening to music.
Speaking of like lifting weights, I know you told this to me before, and even Trey said that like going to the gym. So you always apply cologne going to the gym.
Everywhere.
Everywhere.
Listen.
Oh no.
Everywhere.
Oh, stay ready.
Yeah, stay ready.
Be ready. So sometimes, and I know it's maybe a majority of our listeners, applying cologne in the gym could be overabundant, and I know you're overabundant, but that's just you. Mm-hmm. For me, I just put on deodorant and then body spray, and I think it should be good. Or a very subtle fragrance, but I'm not gonna put like a nightclub cologne to go to the gym.
Right.
But I don't know. I mean, maybe you have come across those guys that really apply a very strong cologne to go to the gym. Girls, it doesn't matter. but for us men.
Well, this is what I say. So for me, I understand kind of it's different for me because I blog about this too. That's another thing I do to kind of vibe is I blog about fragrances. So the blog is about me giving reviews and feedback about different fragrances, right? I started that as a means of saying, look, this is how I got into this whole fragrance. So I'm not just some random person. I actually have this collection. I actually talk about these things. I actually do this. Right, so I wear fragrance everywhere as a means of saying this is honestly my brand. Like this is what I do, right? And that helps me get the consumer feedback as well, right? When I'm wearing a fragrance out, whether it's to the gym, to the club, to a bar, yes, I'm wearing it because I like it and I smell good and all that. But it's also okay. Does this pull compliments or not? What do people think about this one or not?
Yeah.
You know, do women like it? Do males like it? Do women compliment it more? Do male compliment it more? So all of it is just me registering data. With every fragrance I wear, like I'll wear this Wide Le Parfum Intense that I just pulled out. I'll spray it on, and then I'm just like, psh, do I get any compliments today? How much compliments do I get? How frequently do I get it? It's all consuming feedback. There I can say it's on the compliment getter tier, or this one is on the, and you don't need to put your money behind this one's here.
Yeah.
Now, I have noticed guys who are like, oh, I just have one fragrance and I just spray it whenever it's the most like necessary times. Those only for dates, and that's what they do. And for some guys, that's their personality, and that's nothing wrong with that.
Yeah.
There are other guys who say, no, I wear deodorant to the gym.
I got a rotation.
When I got a rotation, and knowing some guys like that, those people are rare. Those people are rare, and even women, same thing. Women, a lot more women I've noticed starting to perfumery and smelling good and things like that. So their thing is when you do approach them, if you meet a woman who is into fragrance, like she's really into it, like she'll go into this whole enthusiastic, description. And for that, I appreciate that because it's like, oh wow, I didn't know these people exist. Like I'm here thinking I'm some not weirdo, but I thought it was just a really niche hobby to get into. But no, people really actually do appreciate scent. It's just one of those things. It's a subtle thing. It's a subtle hobby because it's about having this collection of fragrances and smells. You know what I'm saying? Rather than having a car collection where you can put it
Car
in
collection, shoe collection,
Exactly.
or toy collection.
Yeah, fragrance game is growing and expanding, and there's so many of them. So it's honestly like it's almost like an art collection or an art gallery. Like, look, this is all the different personalities and arts and works that I have. That's the way I look at fragrance. But to answer the original question, I'm a person who says you should wear fragrance anywhere, anytime that you deem it necessary.
Mm-hmm.
You know, I don't believe that you shouldn't never wear fragrance or it's inappropriate to wear fragrance anyway. I don't believe that unless you're in a setting that it's frowned upon culturally. But other than that, there's even fragrances for those scenarios too.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, no, for sure. So, all right, I know I derived from that, like going to the gym, and then either for podcast. What are some other things you kind of do like for fun? Let's just say family time.
Sure. So spending time with my family. I know, especially since moving, make sure.
Moving. You recently moved?
Yeah. So I was with my people, and then I moved out. Obviously, you got to grow up an adult and things of that nature.
Yeah.
So, so I moved into my own place a while back, and so it's just making sure, like, when you move out, why I brought that up is because then it's important to make sure that you keep that connection with your family. You don't get access to them every single day. They don't have access to you, so you make sure to at least check in on them, go visit my people. So I do that. I try to make sure I go see them every now and again, or at least check in on them. And then from there, it's just going out. I'll go catch a game every now and again when I have some free time. I'll go hang out with the fellas. We'll go watch football, basketball. We'll go hit a bar or so. We'll go hit a Bombshells. We'll go hit a nice restaurant, and we'll go get something to eat. Buffalo Wild Wings if we can. Shameless plugs, I guess.
Yeah.
So we'll just do that. It's all about just being able to break them down. I'm a coach too, so I teach and I coach football and track and field. So
nice.
That job takes a lot out of you. It's a
what grade do you teach?
I teach 8th grade, man. So that vital stage, man.
That is a very vital stage. Like, do you think from now we're going to shift this conversation differently? So do you think scouts look at players or middle school players a little bit, or it's still very rare? I know it's mostly in high school because I know what it's like to be scouted when I did wrestling until I actually injured myself, my left shoulder. That's a story for another time. But football, like, do some college scouts can definitely take peek an eye on some like 8th grade football players, being like, all right, that little guy there, he can definitely run fast, like real fast if he keeps keep the discipline up, and it's that long-term investment type of thing.
Well, what I would say is that college scouts can put their eyes on an initial phenom or someone who can be perceived to be a phenom, but really, truly, it's the high school coaches coming down to the 8th grade at this point. It's the high school coaches who send their assistants down to kind of make sure that they're touching base, making sure that their feeders feed to their high school. They don't try to move somewhere else. See, that's one thing I'm noticing with this new age and this new generation is that kids don't go to their feeder schools anymore. It's just like in NBA free agency, NFL free agency, transfer portal. That transfer portal mindset of, hey, if I don't like it here, I'll go somewhere else. So it's really important for those high school coaches to come down and really make sure, hey, This is what we're trying to do. This is what we're trying to establish. This is what we're trying to build. This is our culture, and we want you to be a part of it. So they're trying to get their feeders, and then once they get to high school, the high school coaches then are the ones who send those kids to the college scouts when those college scouts come to visit.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, no, that's really good, really interesting. So, has any of your eighth graders, how long have you been coaching actually?
My first year.
This is your
my
first
year teaching. And
how's
coaching.
how's that feel? How's it feel though?
No, don't get me wrong. I mean, I've always said, and a big part of me is investing in the next generation. So
That's good.
it's a legacy thing, it's a purpose thing. You know, people spend their whole lives trying to find purpose. I always knew my purpose.
Do you think purpose found you?
I think so.
Yeah, I know with the mollit, you got that going on. And then, but what inspires me more about you is like you really care. Like you're not just saying it, but you're also putting in the work. You know, and you're doing what you do to really inspire the next generation with football.
Yeah, and I mean, I try to inspire people in any way that I can because it's all about being remembered in the right way. You know, when my time on earth is done, I want to be known as somebody who tried a whole bunch of different things, tried to conquer as much as he could, and he tried to give the game down to people who were really invested in him because people invested in me to get to this point. I'm still young, but there are a lot of older people, a lot of OGs who looked out for me when I was young and kept me on the straight and narrow. So all I'm trying to do is take those lessons and give it to these people who are my peers who may need a helping hand, or this next generation of young people, these young souls who are just trying to figure life out because life is tough. It is, and I know I wouldn't be where I am without the people who invested in me. All I'm trying to do is be a good example for them to look at. I mean, I'm not perfect by any stretch, but I'm just trying to say, hey, this is what I do. This is what I can help you with. And so just trying to tackle all these different obstacles so I'm as prepared as possible.
Mm-hmm. No, that's good. That's good. So do you think you ever talk about mollit with your with people and like, you know, as coaching, or you keep that almost as separate as possible?
That's a good question. My kids, you'd be surprised, because they're 14. Like they're very curious.
Like you say, you can apply cologne every day. They're going to be thinking like, oh yeah, Coach Obi always smell good. He got that thing on.
Yeah,
he got that thing on.
That's it. That's no. You know what's crazy is that they actually do say that. Like you know, they're like, oh my gosh, coach, it smells so good in here, and I'm like, thank you ever so much. Or like they. Oh my gosh, I love my kids. They found my Instagram one day, and they came at me like they were top flight, like they were the police. They came interrogating me. They're like, okay, we found this. We didn't know you were really into cologne like that, coach. Okay, what's this about you having a business and yeah. So naturally, I was like, okay, well, I'll let you guys I'll let you guys in on, you know, what it all is and how I got into it. So, and that was kind of my way of bonding with them too. It helped me bond with them a little bit easier. As far as them understanding, like, I'm a human being just like you guys. Because I think sometimes it gets lost with, like, teachers and kids. Kids think their teachers don't have other lives, don't have other things that they're interested in, don't have different parts of their personality. It's just teacher and student. And so me being able to top it up with them about, hey, well, this is what got me into fragrances. Or I had some of my, like, boy students, they'll be like, hey, coach, since you're into fragrances, what do you think of this? Do you think I should get this, get this, get this? Can you give me tips?
You're like being like their second father in some sort of way.
I'm just trying to be a positive role model for them, man. You know,
or
so,
like a big brother. There you go.
There you go. Brother. Yeah, man. And so, and it's crazy. So just doing that, and I'm like, okay, well, hey, like I have this bod spray, and I'm like, nah, throw that away. No, get this, and then like, and the thing is, just being able to understand, like, hey, you guys are young, so this is good for you guys' age group, and then as you mature, then you guys can get into this, or they'll smell me and they'll be like, Coach, what is that fragrance? Can we smell some? Can we try some? Can we try some of your fragrance today? And then they're the ones who even were trying to get feedback as far as like the fragrance business. They were like, what are you going to name your fragrance? You should think about this name. You should try to get us to market it for you, you know, Coach, since we're since we're part of like the social media age and things of that nature. So they're just as invested.
Oh, I thought they would just want to come at you because they just want to troll you. But it seems like they're really being genuine and they really want to. They really want to be genuinely. They want to be genuine and help you because hey, they are the next generation. They are potentially going to be your customer base pretty soon.
They could be, or you never know. Like a lot of these kids are entrepreneurial minded, right? So me trying to be that and trying to make it, it's like, look, if by the time they graduate high school and maybe hopefully more later
go to college,
and then maybe hey, I can kind of give them some more game. Like I could be a part of the life still and just hey. Look, this is me who's figured it out. This is some of the game I can give to y'all because some of them have told me, hey, I want to be an entrepreneur. Hey, coach, I want to own a business. I want to do this. I'm like, okay, well, bet. Like, I can give you just these little nuggets here as far as keep on going, keep doing what you're doing in school, and then you'll find your purpose along the way. You'll find what you want your business to look like along the way. But main thing is keep doing the right thing, and keep them, and just keep your eyes forward and don't let distractions bother you, right? And then you guys can take my example. You guys always will have me as a voice, as a positive ear to say, hey, keep going, keep striving for better, because I don't put them down. I try to uplift them. That's our relationship.
Yeah, and I can somewhat potentially is like spreading your, like I say, if this kind of goes well, what if you kind of have like a mollit network, a mollit like foundation, like like a big brother, small brother mentorship into an entrepreneur.
Yeah, because like even like long term down the line, I mean, it's all about like giving back, right? So I would want to start my own like youth program, kind of like you can call it the Mollit Initiative, the Him Initiative, where you're educating. You could create a school where kids can kind of not just talk about perfumery, but you have all different type of arrays of networks to put them in contact with people, or to give them the game of, okay, you want to go in this round, this is what you need to do. These are the people you need to look at, or them. And they have those that are in place, but just kind of being another segue, being another gateway, is very important to me. And yeah, I mean, that's what it's all about, man. It's just being holistic and, kind of giving back, but, being able to learn as much as you can so you have the best preparation you can to be able to give knowledge and pass it down.
Yeah, no, that's really good that you really want to kind of pass it down. Do you believe like the entrepreneur spirit was already within you, or it somewhat founded you? I know we were very philosophical, like, okay, you found the purpose found you. Did Mollit found you, or you found Mollit?
Well, I would say that entrepreneurial spirit found me, and it evolved. I think the first moment I understood I didn't want to work for people forever is it was my first job. I was working at Wingstop, and the GM calls the store. We were really busy because it was Super Bowl weekend. It was Mayweather weekend the next weekend. He calls the store. He answers, and I answer. And basically, I didn't answer the phone by the script that he wanted, and so then he cusses at me, and I'm like, hey, well, sir, we're really busy right now. I don't give a fuck, that's a bad habit, yeah. So he cusses at me, and I'm just like, oh no, like I'm not, you know what I'm saying? So
that was that moment you were like, nah, this is not gonna be the way how I want to go. But
right, and so it was like, okay, I know I'm not built to work for someone forever. Like, I'm not saying that that's wrong. Like, for people who earn a paycheck, they earn a salary, they earn a stipend, and they go home, and that's their life, like, by all means, right? But I'm like, being able to work for yourself is the ultimate autonomy. I like having control of my way, because at least it begins and fails with me, right? And my work
begins and fails. You have full responsibility all on you.
And full responsibility. And I can take that. A lot of people don't want to have that responsibility, and it's not easy.
It ain't easy. It's
not easy.
I'm not even being a podcast founder myself. It ain't easy.
It ain't. And so the entrepreneurial spirit developed as, like, I started getting older and started realizing, like, nah, the best thing is to be your own boss, because it means that you have full autonomy to do things your way, and it begins and ends with you. And you can build it with your hands. With, like, Mollit started off as just an idea, and then watching it evolve into where I meet someone else. You talk about purpose and finding people. Naturally, as I did this whole scent thing, I did this whole cologne thing, I know this one guy from the gym. He's like, hey, I believe in your vision. I believe in what you're doing. Let me put you in contact with this guy who makes signs, who makes videography, who does different labels. So then he created my logo for me. He created my emblem for me. So that's just me doing something where now I created that opportunity, going back to that. And then from there, he did the sign for my blog. So just, you're doing the right thing at the right time, and then you meet the right people. Mm-hmm. It's the same thing with being an entrepreneur. You're building it from the ground up, and you're able to watch it kind of manifest and unfold in real time. So that's what it is about being an entrepreneur for me. It's not just about, oh, I don't have to go to work and I don't have to get up and go somewhere early. No, I like being able to tap into the unlimited potential.
Unlimited potential. No, that's a really, again, amazing message there. So, all right. Is there anything you kind of like want to kind of share with our guests, like, how you thrive and vibe? I think I already asked all my questions, again, to kind of know you deeper. And I was more really in touch, not that about Mollit, but also how you really care about the kids and then your legacy. It really shows that, and it inspires me. And, like, I think I want to kind of get into that too, because making a business is cool. Yeah. But I think what really impacts me more. It's like, all right, helping the next generation, and the kids. From what you're telling me, they genuinely do care. They want to know more. They're not just going, oh, coach it just smells good because he's doing it for the ladies and he wants to make money. They're like, no, I think this man is our coach to make us a great football players and a great character, but also can help us try to smell good.
That's it. Yeah, I mean, the main thing for me is everything about me is about the long-term message and looking down the line and what I want to be remembered for. And so,
The
even
coach that smells good. I think that'd be a very simple tagline. It's like, oh man, here lies Coach Obi. He always smelled great.
He always smelled great, and he always smelled great. He always tried to leave the best impression that he could. He always tried to leave a positive impact on people's lives, and I mean that's what it's all about. So like, what keeps me going is just knowing, hey, I got legacy, I got things, I got obstacles that I could be tackling today. Right? I think people lack motivation, and the reason why they lack motivation because they don't look too far ahead. They look at what's happening today. I'm like, nah. What I'm building today is preparing me for tomorrow's thrive, and for tomorrow's legacy, for tomorrow's opportunity, for tomorrow's victory. You know what I'm saying? So you got to keep on going. Now, it's important to be able to stop and kind of be like, okay, this is where we are. You're doing good. You're making sure you're making progress. Right, in life, so that you have to always kind of remember to stop and pause and breathe, right? But the main thing is just, hey, you got to keep on going, keep pushing, and just understand that it's a marathon, not a sprint in this life. That's my main message.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and absolutely, it's like everything is just you can go as fast as you want, but you ever heard of there's a phrase? This is always in the motivation of entrepreneurship. Like, if you want to go fast, go alone. If you want to go far, go with a team.
That's right.
Talk to us a little bit about the future of mollit. Like, you're gonna have a team, you're gonna have a team, or it's just you for now, or just talk a little bit, not you or just however what you want.
Yeah. So right now in the beginning stages, it's just me and my partner Trey. Obviously,
Yeah.
I'm CEO. He calls himself VP, but I mean he's very much an integral part of mollit getting off the ground. So
like in the operations, and are you more the visionary, or you still like to be in everything? I know
I got to be a part of everything at this moment because we're getting it off the ground, right?
Yeah.
So I'm in everything. I had the vision and everything, but Trey's very good at talking to people. He has a great personality. He's a great counterbalance to me because I'm very introverted, right? And he's got that extroversion. He got the personality. He got the smile. He got the funniness that is natural. So when we interact, we can see like our dynamic works great, and it's not
it's like a yin and yang there.
Exactly. And that's what it's all about. He is a great balance. And so with that, it's just us two. We're just getting it off the ground, and we're just working it out. And then as mollit grows, I mean, as far as down the line, I got 3 male fragrances that we're dropping in the first launch.
Any
right?
unisex?
They can be sold as unisex, honestly.
So do you want to? That just popped my question.
Yeah.
When fragrance companies, designers or niche, is it better to market yourself as unisex or just whatever specific gender in this current trend right now? Because I've come across fragrances where I smell, it's like, wow, it smells very masculine, and then the salesperson saying, oh, this could be unisex. I'm like, you're telling me a Paco Rabanne could be male and female? I don't know about that.
I would say that designer fragrances have to almost sell male and female. It's hard to sell a designer fragrance as a unisex fragrance. Niche fragrances, because their messaging is fragrance and not necessarily, like, it's not Sarah Mann's or it's not Killian Mann. It's like, boom. And even the naming of the fragrance.
Like I said, Paco Rabanne. I know that's already 2016. It was the niche fragrances. It was not a designer. It was the niche fragrances.
Right.
I loved it, very fruity. And then now it's like they still sell it right now, and they market themselves as a unisex.
Right. And I would say that goes to what your fragrance smells like, right? It like if you have a very musky, woody, spicy, dark fragrance, then women aren't going to want to smell that way, right? So you have to understand what this smell conveys, and then from there you can say, okay, this can be marketed as unisex. If it smells vanillic and fresh, then you can say, well, it could be unisex because from a woman's perspective, she likes the vanillic sweetness of it, but from a male's perspective, he likes the fresh, musky undertone of it.
Yeah.
Right? That's how you get to, is this male, female, or unisex, right? For a female fragrance, you know that she's going to want it to smell herbal, flowery, fruity, vanillic, chocolatey, whatever type of sweet undertones usually, right? Or she's gonna want it to smell real feminine, right? If it's real feminine, usually women are gonna go for those fragrances, and then male fragrance is gonna have more masculine undertones, like oud, like musk, like smoke, like patchouli, like iris, right? And so for that, you know, okay, men usually will want to smell like this, or this will allure a feminine nose, right? That's how you look at fragrance, and then when you try to mesh them together, and this is why niche fragrances honestly can sell their fragrances at what they are. It's hard to make unisex fragrances that are good because you're having to blend these really polarly different fragrance notes together. And you have to make sure it smells good. So when you can hit it and when you can get it, you can then say this is a unisex fragrance. And because it's hard to find these unisex fragrances that actually smell good, this is the price point. So that's what I would say as far as that.
Man, and now it pops up more question, which is okay.
Yeah.
Price of the fragrances,
Yes.
niche or designer,
Yes.
determines top quality or not.
No, that's a big misconception. See,
Like we talk about Creed. We were talking about the Creed. Everyone loves the Creed, and those bottles in general are already $200 or $300.
Yeah.
And then therefore smaller companies like I told you, Alt.
Yep.
Shameless plug, Alt. Trying to make a cheaper alternative.
Yes.
It's like trying to make. It's like selling a fake reps of a sneaker. Like I think, and I made that comment to you yesterday that if you want to buy the Creed, Aventus, whatever it is, or the Aqua di Gio, or any of the big fragrances, or Tom Ford, make sure you can own it. Like own it as it is. Own the bottle. Take full ownership. Don't try to downplay it. It just doesn't seem right to me.
See, for me, I guess because I'm a collector, I say, again, goes back to your personality. I agree with you though. If you really want the fragrance and you want the real thing, get the real thing, right? Because the clones are always gonna have a quality. There's gonna be something missing, and people can notice it, right? So if you're trying to say, I don't want to pay Parfums and Marley prices or Chanel prices, so I'm gonna get something that smells like that. It's
Very
cheaper.
similar, cheaper.
It's similar, but it's cheaper. Be careful. That's what I will say. Right. However, there are dupes for people who like
Like who you might be fooling.
Right.
If I want to go up to Megan Fox and I put that on, she might give a little look, but she's not gonna be engaged.
You feel me? So I mean, at the end of the day, now you asked the question: does price make the quality?
Yes, I did say that. Yep.
Here's the thing: you can find great fragrances that are inexpensive. They do exist. The main thing is that they're not going to be the most reputable name.
Wait, tell me inexpensive. Are we talking $30 colognes? Or are we talking about $80? I think $80 should be like decent and expensive.
So
or $50.
So here's a hack that I use.
Ooh, a hack. I like to hear a hack.
Here's a hack, right? First off, if you're going to buy fragrances, I say always buy them off of a discounter first. The reason being is that you always get them. You usually will get them at less expensive than retail price. Now,
discounted like secondhand use.
So there are discount websites online. Okay. So Fragrance
like
Net,
maybe it
Fragrance
has
X,
not been sold.
Mm-hmm, it has not been sold. Like they can't sell you an open box, and if they can, then you can send it back.
Yeah.
Because now it's been tampered with. Unless they sell it as a tester, like they'll have it specified. This is the tester, meaning the box has been opened, and usually it's gonna be a full
like secondhand
bottle.
use. Yeah.
Exactly, secondhand use. Usually that means that there won't be a cap. Maybe it's a little bit used, or like a couple sprays have been out of it. And so from that, they'll sell it to you cheaper, right? Because you're not getting the full thing. It's not an unopened bottle or an unopened box. But nonetheless, you can check out websites like Fragrance Net, Fragrance X, Twisted Lily for niche fragrances, and you can get these fragrances for a little bit less, right? Then there are the fragrance brands that, are not the Dior's, the Chanel's, the Armani's, but they're still good.
Yeah.
A prime example is like Salvatore Ferragamo, right?
Okay.
There's one called Salvatore Ferragamo Aqua Senzio Blue. This one pops in my head because it's actually really good discounted. If you check it out on a discount, you can get it for $40. But that one's a great cheapie discounter. It's a great cheapie from a discounter, right? Mm-hmm. So there are fragrances that are inexpensive. Versace Dylan Blue, you can get it on Amazon. You can get it on Fragrance X, and that's a good teenager fragrance where it's not expensive, but it still is a compliment puller. right? So there are fragrances that aren't the most expensive, but are still going to be great in quality. Now, what I will say is that if you're looking at, looking at Laundry de L'Homme versus something from some discounted, some dupe, yeah, go with Laundry de L'Homme if you want the real thing, right? If you want Creed, right? Like there's a cologne brand called Armaf, right? And Armaf is known for cloning Creed fragrances. So they have like Club de Nuit Intense Man.
Yeah.
They have Sillage. They had Imperial, and things of that nature. Those ones are $30 versus buying the real Creed, right? For somebody who just wants to smell like it and doesn't want to pay Creed prices, that could work for you if you like this smell quality.
Yeah.
But for those who say, nah, I need the real thing, I don't want to skip any steps, then they're going to go for the Creed. So it can work. You just have to be mindful and diligent, and that's where doing your homework is important.
Yeah. So, in your opinion, how many cologne, specifically for men,
Yes.
above 20, should own?
Three.
Three.
Three at least. Three at least. Daytime, nighttime, date night.
Date night.
Yeah, date night out. Date night / clubbing out.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
I would say clubbing out really can't fall under.
No gym
night.
colognes? Some body spray.
See, that's when you get past beginner. If you're a beginner 3.
Yeah, beginner.
If you are going to amateur 5, right, where now you can say, okay, now I can specialize, I can nicheify what fragrance I'm using now. And by then, once you get your first 3, you can say, okay, this is what I like, this is what I don't like. So now I can go out and say with confidence, this is what I want it to smell like, right?
Yeah.
Then from there, I go 5. I go daytime, nighttime, date night. You can go gym, and then you can go office, like work, right? That's 5.
What about those work? Well, okay, yeah, office.
Office.
I mean, even if you work from home.
Even if you work from home, it's still the same thing. Home office, you never know. You might have people like today. Then you brought somebody in for a podcast. This is your office. This is your setting.
True.
So that's 5. And then once you get past amateur, I go 10. But like, see, 10 is now you're putting your spin on it. Now you're getting things that represent you. So I go 5. That first 5 I mentioned. So again, daytime, nighttime, date night. Then you have office, gym. You can go Netflix and chill fragrance. And those and
Maybe traveling colognes though, like
traveling
overseas.
colognes.
Yeah.
I would say it would be more so like now you're niche-fying it as far as the setting, right? Travel colognes, you just want to get a small one. A small test that won't be detected in your bag.
Oh man, I'm pretty sure you have a lot of travel size too.
I do have some. I don't travel a whole lot, but now
once you get customers that really want to travel, because again, we are in the we're back to normal, like traveling.
Yep.
It's a lot, and of course I think Mollit can definitely if you do go travel, even outside of Texas, outside of Houston, you definitely can spread your word of business there. But as of right now, you're just sticking to Houston for now.
That's it. And so you got your travel one, you got your vacation one, you got your beach one, and so once you get to 10, it's all about niche-fying out, and then from there, I mean, you're no longer an amateur anymore. You got 10. Now you're. I wouldn't call you a collector. I mean, to me, collector, you got to get to like 25 plus.
I can't imagine what your closet or your bathroom closet is going to be looking like.
Let me see.
Oh man, he about to show off.
Let me see if I can show it to you.
I don't know, we got Instagram video.
So that there is, I think, a nice sneak peek of what it looks like right now.
Oh wow. I'm no perfume expert, but I'm just like looking at that. That's like probably 3 figures worth each perfume or each one of them.
Again, you got to know where to get your fragrances from. You look at that collection and people be like, "That's a lot. How much have you spent on them?" Like, see, there are certain ones that you pay full retail for because you can't find it anywhere else. A lot of those I was able to get off a discounter, and then you got to be smart with it too. That's one of a full collection.
Man, your collection is like what I see on Instagram, and I just think like, oh man, this is they must be like making high 6 figures. But what you're telling me, again, I know you probably make decent money, but you don't have to make millions or even high 6 figures to actually have that type of collection.
Nah, any budget. I mean, again, it's just about being smart. And one thing that helps is that I'm pretty much minimalist in most other things. You know, I don't buy a whole lot of stuff. Make sure to get my bills paid, obviously.
Mm-hmm.
And then from there, it's like, hey, instead of going out, you know, doing dumb stuff, I'm like, hey, I'm just gonna get a new fragrance. That's my guilty pleasure. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
I'm not too big of a sneaker head. I'm not too big of a car head or a watch or anything of that nature. You know.
Well, you got a nice watch though.
Yeah, man. You get your couple staples, man. Yeah, but other than that, I'm like, man, the main thing you see me investing in is my fragrance collection. Because at the end of the day, it's my investment. Bali.
Bali. Come on. Come
So
on, Bali.
that's that. But I mean, be smart with it and just make sure that you're not putting yourself in a hole. And then, you know, with the blog too, the blog you get sponsored where they give you discounts. You can create discount codes too. So that's kind of a way of it paying for itself at the end.
Would you? So this brings me up another question. Like when you talk about fragrance X and fragrance indica, I dabbled in those when I did my own homework of fragrance, and it turns out now you want inspire me to kind of go more deeper. Ours in fragrance indica, you definitely get true expert nose people with the strong nose. Being like the consultant, they act like critics, which they should be. It should be. Would you ever dabble into that, like being your own quote unquote fragrance expert, or getting to become a fragrance expert?
Sure, absolutely. I mean, and there are people like that exist. I mean, that's really kind of how I started doing my homework on, you know, acquiring different senses. You check out different YouTube experts, different YouTube channels who've been doing this for a while. You look at their top 10 lists, their recommended list, and you say, okay, you start to find a few people that you trust, a few people who's like, you have your fragrances, obviously, and then you're like, okay, I've seen my fragrances in their list. So then you
Any specific top 3 YouTubers that are really into the fragrance that inspire you, and then maybe you can tell our audience for men. But
So-
of course, women can follow too.
So honestly, the female reviewers do a really good job too. I'll give you number one is Jeremy Fragrance.
I definitely know
right?
Jeremy
The
Fragrance, the
icon.
German guy. Yep.
Yeah, power, right? So you got Jeremy Fragrance. He's I would say a GOAT status just because he's the guy he's the megagon of fragrance reviewers.
He's been doing it a long time.
Long time, 2 million viewers and 2 million followers and all that.
It's almost to the point like I don't think people actually follow him just for fragrance review. They just like to. It's just like his personality.
Yeah, absolutely. Bali.
Oh, Bali. I'm very sorry. That's like 10 times. Jeez.
It's all good. So I would say Jeremy Fragrance number one. Then the male reviewers, it would be there's a guy, Bowtie Fragrance guy. He's really good. I love his videos. Big Beard Business, and then Chaos Fragrances from the male side. From the female side, it would be Curly Scents, Curly Fragrances, and Monica Cho. Them 3.
Monica Cho?
Yeah, Monica Cho. So Monica Cho, Curly Fragrances, Curly Scents, those 3. I'll say that's my fragrance teachers, fragrance professors, if you will. Check out them. If I'm watching content about fragrances, usually from one of those 7.
Nice. I see.
Yeah.
See. All right. Well, I think we already discussed it so much, and I thank you very much for your time. But
sure.
before really ending it, any message for our listeners or viewers here about your journey in Mollit and whatsoever?
Yeah, I mean, official launch date and official full sale will be coming out soon, so stay tuned for that. Again, you know, it's all about creating a legacy. It's all about finding purpose. I found it, and now I'm just trying to share my interest in fragrance with the world, and you know, just trying to give people opportunities, creative opportunities for myself and for the people who are around me. So I'm just trying to spread that influence as far as being able to give people the confidence to go out into the world, you know, wear a nice fragrance, wear a nice presentation, put themselves together, and you know, smell good, feel good, do good, just like Trey said. You know, I embody that moniker, I believe. The main thing is just keep on chasing your legacy and keep on let your legacy breathe life into others. That's been my whole thing. I'm trying to create a legacy and let that legacy breathe life into other people.
Absolutely. And then the tagline that you said about Mollit is what was it? Fragrance leads to opportunity? Or?
Yeah, so fragrance leads to opportunities, right? Opportunities not only with male and female, but also in business, right? You do good. Your Mollit energy is your seductive energy. Your seductive energy is just about being able to allure people to you. It's not just the sexual part, but also just in general in life. It's just you being able to attract people.
Perfect. Oh, perfectly well said. I'll definitely channel my inner Mollit and be able to kind of like track that. And Mike, how would our viewers and listeners here be able to follow you, be on your story with mollit?
Sure. So you can follow my main page. My main Instagram is obi.mike56. That's my main Instagram where you can get all notifications, fitness content on there as well from my fitness page. And then if you want to follow the fragrance blog and get recommendations on fragrances, you can follow the Fragrance Mentor. That's my blog page. If you want to follow the podcast, that's at ForinSight, FORIN site on Instagram, and then also mollit perfumes on Instagram as well.
Okay, mollit. Okay, so there's four.
There's four different realms.
Awesome. Yeah, and guys, definitely check him out. I'll definitely, I'll paste the link on the video as well as on the Thrive and Vibe website. But Mike, I thank you very much for your time, man, and hope your journey of mollit goes. And again, fragrance leads to opportunities.
That's it, most definitely. I appreciate you for having me, man. This has been a blast. I love this conversation.
All right,
Thank you again.
Thank you.